Poor sleep can be one of the most challenging experiences of perimenopause and menopause, and it can affect us in a couple of different ways. So it may affect you with trouble getting to sleep at night. It may affect you with waking up in the night and not being able to get back to sleep. It may affect you with waking up at sort of 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and being wide awake for the whole day. Or it may affect you in the opposite way of feeling that you've had too much sleep and feeling really groggy and not being able to wake up the next morning. Now, generally speaking, sleep, one of the causes of sleep is high cortisol levels within our brain. And as you'll see if you've watched my long training, we can balance those cortisol levels out and those good neurotransmitters levels out to a good place to be able to navigate the hormonal fluctuations of estrogen, progesterone and testosterone. So working on that is the key thing to support with sleep, but here's a few other tips and techniques to help to get your sleep cycle back on track if you're struggling through perimenopause. So recommend having a hot bath before you go to bed, not just because it's relaxing, because when you get into the bath, obviously your body temperature rises, and when you get out of it, it dips, and that is what we want, is we want that big dip in body temperature for an optimal body temperature to be able to go to sleep at night. Setting yourself a good bedtime and sleep routine is really important. So whether that's getting into your pajamas at a particular time, reading, a good skincare routine, all of those things that can build habit association within your brain, so that when you do them, your brain thinks, okay, this is what I normally do and it's bedtime, so it must be time to wind down now. If you do suffer with insomnia, one of the worst things that you can do is to lay in bed waiting to get to sleep. So give your brain a little bit of a distraction. So read a book, listen to something, particularly the sleep stories, sleep tracks, hypnosis tracks. Pop one of them at night just to give your brain another focus, because the more you lay in bed struggling to get to sleep and winding yourself up, you're going to create more stress, which then makes it even worse and even more difficult to get back to sleep. Whilst exercise is great for us during perimenopause and menopause, if you can avoid doing it late at night, because you will get a spike of cortisol from exercising, which is not necessarily a bad thing in terms of exercise, but we don't want a spike of cortisol just before we go to sleep. Having a little notepad next to your bed can be really beneficial, because if you're having lots of thoughts racing around in your mind, or if you wake up in the night and there's something that you've thought of, just having a little notepad there, jotting it down so you know you've got it there, you know you're not going to forget something, and also you're not going on your phone in the middle of the night and then going down a whole other loophole with that, is something that can be really beneficial. Other little tips and techniques which can support: so don't look at the clock if you wake up in the night. If you look at the clock and it's 3 o'clock and you're thinking, oh God, I've got to get up in 2 hours, you are going to struggle to get back to sleep, because you've built up those thoughts, you're building up more of that stress. The way that you talk to yourself in terms of sleep is really important. So if you're telling yourself during the day and at night time that you're going to sleep badly, then the chances are that you will, because you're putting it in your brain's focus. Whereas actually, if that thought comes into your head, a little technique called reframing and just trying to swap it around and telling yourself that you are going to have a good night's sleep. Try not to talk about it and engage with it in the middle of the day. Try not to engage in conversation when people ask how you're getting on. Just say you're okay, because the more you, again, start to talk about it, the more you build it up in your head that it is a problem, and therefore more is in your subconscious that you are going to have a bad night's sleep. Cognitive shuffling is a game that it's a little bit of a silly game, but it's a good game just to get your focus elsewhere when you're struggling to get to sleep. So it's basically like the alphabet game, and you think of a category. So for example, that category might be animals, sports, food, and you just go down the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, etc., and think of one thing within that category. Now, the reason why this is helpful is it's just because it sort of creates your brain's little own playlist within your head, rather than thinking about all of those other thoughts. It's almost sort of like counting sheep, which is the old school thing to do, is count sheep, and you just get into a repetitive pattern habit, and you will most likely find that you don't actually get to the end of the alphabet. The main thing to remember when you're getting on top of your sleep is to think about the things in the day that may be contributing to that stress bucket and those little micro stressors. So if you're rushing around all the time in the day, just think about, where can I start to slow down a little bit? What little changes can I start to make that are going to start to just empty that stress bucket and build more of those good neurotransmitter levels in?